HOA gave me 72 hours to sell my cabin, so I bought the land beneath their office and blocked it. The cabin, that meant everything. The cabin wasn't just a property, it was my escape. Built deep in the woods, surrounded by tall trees, with a narrow dirt road leading up to it. No noise, no traffic, no stress, just peace. I had spent years working non-stop just to finally afford a place like that. And when I bought it, I made sure of one thing. Everything was legal. Every permit approved, every boundary verified, everything documented, because I knew how people could be, especially when HOAs were involved. The HOA that shouldn't exist there, the strange part. My cabin wasn't even inside their HOA, not officially, but a luxury housing development had been built nearby, and with it came their HOA. At first I didn't think it would affect me. I was wrong. The first notice 3 days after moving in, I found a letter nailed to my cabin door. Not mailed, not delivered, nailed it. Read, notice of non-compliance. 72 hours to resolve. I stood there reading it twice, then a third time, because it didn't make sense. They were claiming my cabin violated HOA standards. The ridiculous complaints. The notice listed several violations. Cabin exterior didn't match neighborhood aesthetic. Dirt road access was unapproved. Wood storage visible from distance. Dock area considered unsafe. I laughed, because none of it applied. I wasn't even part of their HOA. Karen makes her entrance the next morning. I heard a vehicle pulling up, black SUV. Fast door slam, confident footsteps. Karen, she walked straight toward my cabin like she owned it. You received the notice, she said, without greeting. I nodded. And the 72-hour threat. Karen didn't hesitate. You have 72 hours to either fix these violations or list the cabin for sale. I stared at her. Sell my property. She nodded. This area falls under our community standards. That's when I realized something important. She wasn't confused. She was trying to force control. The calm response. I didn't argue, didn't raise my voice. I simply said, I'm not in your HOA. Karen smiled. Cold. That's what you think. The investigation begins that night. I pulled out every document I had, property deeds, survey maps, zoning records, everything, and I found something interesting, very interesting. The HOA office building was sitting on a small parcel of land. That parcel wasn't owned by the HOA. The overlooked detail, the land beneath their office had been leased, years ago, from a private owner, and that lease was about to expire. The opportunity. The next morning, I made a call to the landowner. We talked. He was older, tired of managing small properties, ready to sell. Within hours, I made an offer. The deal. By the end of the day, the deal was done. I now owned the land directly beneath the HOA office. They didn't know yet, but they would. The 72-hour deadline arrives on the third day. Karen returned. Same SUV, same attitude, same confidence. She walked up holding another paper. Time's up, she said. Have you listed the cabin? I smiled. Actually, I've been busy. The reveal. I handed her a document. Official, stamped, signed. She read the first line, then froze, because it clearly stated, transfer of land ownership, HOA office parcel. Her eyes widened. The moment it hit you. Bought this? She asked. I nodded. That includes the ground your office is sitting on. Silence. Pure silence. Karen loses control for the first time. Karen didn't have a response. No clipboard, no rules, no authority. Because now the power had shifted completely. The new terms. I stayed calm, professional, clear. I won't be selling my cabin, I said, but I will be reviewing access to the land I now own. Karen's voice shook slightly. You can't just, I interrupted. I can and I will. The barrier goes up within 48 hours. I installed a gate, right at the entrance of the land leading to the HOA office. Heavy steel, locked, secure, clear signage, private property, nitrogen monoxide, unauthorized access. The HOA panicked the next morning. HOA board members arrived and stopped because they couldn't reach their own office. Cars lined up, confused, frustrated. Karen arrived shortly after, and when she saw the gate, she lost it. The HOA panicked the next morning. HOA board members arrived and stopped because they couldn't reach their own office. Cars lined up, confused, frustrated. Karen arrived shortly after, and when she saw the gate, she lost it. The confrontation. This is illegal, she shouted. I stood calmly on the other side. No, this is ownership. She demanded access. I asked one simple question. Am I part of your HOA? She stayed silent. The reality sets in. Without access to their office, the HOA couldn't operate normally. Meetings cancelled, files inaccessible, board members scrambling because everything they relied on was sitting on land they no longer controlled. The negotiation attempt. A few days later, they requested a meeting. No threats this time, no demands, just a simple request. They wanted access. The final conversation. We sat across from each other. Different tone now, different energy. Karen wasn't leading anymore. One of the other board members spoke. What would it take to resolve this? I answered calmly. Respect property boundaries. Pause. Then I added, and remove all false claims against my cabin. The outcome. Within a week, all HOA notices against my property were withdrawn. Written confirmation I was not under HOA control. Formal apology issued, and only then, I unlocked the gate. Peace restored. The cabin stayed mine, untouched, unbothered, and the HOA, they never came near my property again. Karen disappeared from the situation completely because sometimes the fastest way to stop control is to take control of something they depend on. What would you do if an HOA tried to force you to sell your own property? Would you fight legally, ignore them, or flip the entire situation like this? Comment below, and don't forget your city and country. Like and subscribe for more insane HOA stories.